Seventh grade. There was a nun who was very wise, but her sister didn't know. You could say she was none the wiser. Why might a nun have a problem with smoking? Because it's a hard habit to break. What do you call a nun in a wheelchair? A Roman Catholic. What do you call it when there are two nuns in a drum circle together? A conundrum. Good. All right, some happy, harmless nun jokes for you there. Okay. This video is going to be about what you need to know for your Chapter 14 quiz. And then I'm going to make one final video in which I go over the study guide questions. But I do want to give you a chance to look at this video first. So it'll be a real short one. So by this time, you know kind of how all this online stuff works. Open book, open note, open everything. Have everything ready to go by 9 a.m. before we start. Your quiz is 9 a.m. on Wednesday. You will have until 9:40 to take it. So yeah, have everything out in front of you and ready to go. Vocab, it's going to add up to a total of 3 points. So don't get bogged down by the vocab. Not worth it. It's very straightforward, the vocab section. There's 5 of them. Number 6, 7, and 8 are short answer questions. Numbers 9 and 10 are long answer questions. Now remember, because the vocab is only worth 3 points instead of 5 like normal, that means there's 2 additional points that are going to be given out either in the long answers or the short answers. So those are more important than normal, whereas the vocab is less important than normal. There's also an extra credit question that I left in for you. So you'll have the opportunity to do that if you like. Extra credit is just 1 point. So again, don't waste time doing it. It's really not worth it. All right, things you need to know. Advantages and disadvantages to entering a convent or monastery. Actually, really focus on the advantages. I don't think I'm going to ask you about disadvantages of it because we didn't really talk about that, and frankly, back then, there really were no disadvantages to entering a convent or monastery other than the fact that you had to obey the abbot or the mother superior, whoever was in charge of you. And of course, you couldn't marry. Although for some people, that's an advantage, I guess. You should also know about the topography of Europe and how that affects things like Europe's development and Europe's climate. You should know what Christendom is. So if I use the word Christendom, you need to be able to recognize that and immediately know what that means. You need to know about the Reign of Charlemagne. So, what connection did he have to Christianity? How is the way he ruled his Frankish Empire different than the way that other empires like the Roman Empire worked? And what was Charlemagne's relationship to the Roman Empire in general? How did he feel about it? I mean, he lived after the Roman Empire had fallen, but he doesn't ignore the Roman Empire, right? He thinks parts of it are important. There's a long answer question about the code of chivalry. So I'll leave it at that. You also need to know the different steps that someone has to go through in order to become a knight. So who is eligible to become a knight, and how does that person actually become a knight? And I'm also going to ask you to compare certain aspects of Europe to Japan. All right. And again, everything that's on this test is talked about in the book. Right? So if I ask you to compare Europe and Japan, that's going to be discussed in chapter 14. Right? You don't need to go back into chapters 12 and 13 and look at Japan again. You can stay in chapter 14 when you study. Right? Japan is talked about in chapter 14. Okay, so yeah, that's it for the video.